Hashtag Trending would like to thank Meter for their support in bringing you this podcast. Meter delivers a complete networking stack, wired, wireless, and cellular in one integrated solution that's built for performance and scale. You can find them at meter.com/HTT. Apple says Google's Gemini will power Siri, pushing Google's market cap to more than $4 trillion. The Guardian exposes problems with Google's Gemini AI summary health advice. Cloudflare says it may pull its services in Italy, including services to the Olympics, in response to what it says are unfair fines. And Anthropic president says AGI may already exist, at least in some domains. Welcome to Hashtag Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Apple has confirmed that Google's Gemini models will power the next major upgrade to Siri, a clear sign that Apple is turning to outside AI partners to modernize its long-struggling voice assistant. After years of incremental updates and missed deadlines, Apple is now relying on outside models to modernize its voice assistant and support its broader Apple Intelligence strategy. Under the agreement, Apple says some processing will still run on-device using its own models, but more complex requests will be handled in the cloud using Google's Gemini AI infrastructure. Now, that naturally raises questions about Apple's relationship with OpenAI. Currently, users can ask Siri to call ChatGPT to answer complex questions, but it has no real integration with the Siri app other than that. And you might think that going with Gemini would spell the end of this partnership, but Apple hasn't said it's ending its ChatGPT integration at all. In fact, it's indicated that ChatGPT remains available as a user-initiated option for complex questions, while Gemini becomes the core model powering Siri by default. The distinction matters. The approach gives Apple flexibility, perhaps avoiding reliance on a single AI provider, and maybe that lack of reliance on a single provider could keep them out of antitrust trouble that has plagued Google's relationship with Apple in the past. Partnering is not a foreign concept with Apple. Google already pays the company billions to be the default search engine on Safari. Although they could have lost that deal if Google had been broken up in recent antitrust hearings. That, however, did not happen and may have paved the way for this deal. But it's still a surprising move. When it comes to applications, Apple has always been a closed shop when it comes to core software and systems. So this either means that Apple's internal projects that have already missed deadlines may be in worse shape than Apple has admitted, or it could be a shift in philosophy. In the fast-moving world of AI, maybe total control isn't the thing they want. Acting more like a broker, routing requests to whichever model can handle them best, might be the best way to keep Siri relevant in this fast-moving AI race. A new investigation by The Guardian has raised concerns about Google AI's health overviews after researchers found the system providing inaccurate and potentially even harmful health information. In one of the more serious cases, AI-generated summaries gave misleading answers to questions about liver health and symptoms. Researchers alerted Google, and to Google's credit, the offending information was removed quickly once it was flagged. But as researchers continued testing AI overviews, they continued to identify additional failures, including answers that were incomplete, oversimplified, or factually wrong. Some responses conflicted with guidance from recognized medical authorities, while others left out critical context that could affect how people interpret symptoms or risk. Experts told The Guardian that the problem isn't just accuracy, but it might also be design. AI overviews sit at the very top of search results, and they're written in that confident, authoritative tone that AI uses. And that presentation in that tone could actually discourage users from clicking through to additional sources. increasing the chance that incorrect information is simply taken at face value, particularly in health searches. Google said that AI overviews are meant to provide general information, not medical advice, and that the system is refined based on feedback. Critics argue that fast removals help, but they don't solve the underlying issue. When AI answers come first and sources come later, errors can still reach people before they're corrected. Quick fixes may address individual mistakes, but they don't answer how often these failures occur or how many go unnoticed. And in an environment where health information carries real-world consequences, researchers believe that's a problem. Cloudflare is signaling that it may pull back services in Italy, including its free tier, and potentially pulling its services from the upcoming Olympics, after Italian regulators imposed fast and punitive penalties over alleged failures to block pirate sports streams. Cloudflare pushed back at what it terms are unrealistic regulations and unfair punishment, with fines that it says exceed the revenue it earns in the country. According to reporting by the Register, Italy's communications regulator AgCom used its Piracy Shield system to demand near-instant IP blocking during live broadcasts, and moved quickly to levy fines when Cloudflare did not comply at what they felt was the required speed. According to reporting by the Register, Italy's communications regulator AgCom used its Piracy Shield system to demand near-instant IP blocking during live broadcasts, and moved quickly to levy fines when Cloudflare did not comply at what the regulator felt was the required speed. Cloudflare argues that enforcement was not only aggressive, but left little room to challenge or correct mistakes. And Cloudflare has been clear that this is not about refusing to act against harmful content. The company routinely blocks malicious IP addresses involved in distributed denial-of-service attacks and other clear security threats. Their systems are designed to stop traffic that is actively damaging networks or services. But ultimately, this dispute centers on processes. Regulators, influenced by influential sports teams who want to protect their audiences, are demanding immediate IP blocking to protect live broadcasts, but without an equally fast or reliable appeal mechanism if errors occur. And Cloudflare argues that this turns a security provider into a real-time content enforcement arm, where blocks happen first and reviews come later, if at all. And there's another technical issue. Because IP addresses can be shared, that approach can cut off legitimate websites and users with no practical way to restore access quickly. Finally, there's a structural cost. Maintaining constant manual real-time blocking to protect intellectual property at this scale was never what Cloudflare's network was designed to do. This can cause, according to Cloudflare, unavoidable collateral damage and undermine normal internet traffic. And the implications extend beyond Italy. With the Olympics approaching, broadcasters are pushing for similar rapid blocking regimes elsewhere. And Cloudflare's warning is once infrastructure providers are punished for not blocking fast enough, without safeguards to undo errors just as quickly, the cost is borne by the ordinary users caught in the middle, and unfair fines to the company. Now, whether it's the threat to pull their free services, the threat to pull out of the Olympics, or complaints to the U.S. government, something seems to have worked. The Italian regulator has been in touch to open a dialogue with discussions on how to move forward. And finally, we're used to hearing from CEO Dario Amodei, but this time Anthropic President Daniela Amodei has weighed in on the debate over artificial general intelligence, saying we may be stuck on the wrong question. In her view, AGI isn't a single moment or finish line, and in certain domains, she argues, it may already be here. Amodei says that some AI systems now perform at or above human levels in narrowly defined but economically meaningful areas, such as coding, research assistance, and even data analysis. Now, that doesn't mean that machines can do everything people can do, but it does challenge the idea that AGI must arrive all at once in some dramatic, unmistakable breakthrough. Claude, for instance, can now write code about as well as many developers at Anthropic, and that company employs some of the industry's top engineering talent. Anthropic's internal research reveals that engineers using Claude for 60% of their work and achieving a 50% productivity boost represent a 2 to 3 times increase from a year ago. And in December of 2025, the company achieved a breakthrough when Claude Opus 4.5 became the first model to exceed 80% accuracy on the SWE bench-verified benchmarking, measuring performance on real-world software engineering tasks. Still, she acknowledges that while Claude excels in specific domains, it still cannot perform many tasks humans can do easily, suggesting that the construct itself of AGI, artificial general intelligence, is now wrong, or maybe not wrong, but just outdated. And at the same time, she cautioned against assuming today's rapid progress will continue indefinitely, warning that scaling laws, compute availability, energy costs, and data limits could all slow or reshape progress in ways that are hard to predict. And she gives one of the greatest quotes so far of 2026. She said, "The exponential continues until it doesn't." The broader point, though, is a reframing of the AGI debate. If general intelligence arrives piece by piece across domains, then society may already be living with early forms of it, without the clear signals people expected. And if progress slows as constraints tighten, the challenge won't be just building smarter systems, but deciding how much intelligence is enough. And that's our show. Once again, we'd like to thank Meter for their support in bringing you this podcast. Meter delivers full-stack networking infrastructure, wired, wireless, and cellular to leading enterprises. And working with their partners, Meter designs, deploys, and manages everything required to get performant, reliable, and secure connectivity. They design the hardware, the firmware, build the software, manage deployments, and run support. It's a single integrated solution that scales from branch offices to warehouses to large campuses, all the way to data centers. Book a demo at meter.com/HTT. That's meter.com/HTT. And I always love to hear from you. Reach me at technewsday.ca or .com. Either works. Use the Contact Us tab, and while you're there, maybe check out the new and improved news site that we've got. Leave a note under the video on YouTube or hunt me down on LinkedIn. Always glad to hear from you. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a terrific Tuesday.